All the Buckeyes. Over under 10.5. That's a tough call. That reminds me of looking at the over-unders. This was about 3 years ago and seeing Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, all 10.5. And I thought, you know what? You take this to the bank with all three over, and two of them are, this was Nick Saban's Alabama team, Kirby Smart, Ryan Day. This was arguably the three best teams in the country. You bet the over on all three of them. You're not getting 2-10-2 seasons out of those three. Not then. And that particular year, that might have been 2022. Alabama went 10-2. Georgia and Ohio State 11-1. 2022. No, Georgia went undefeated, right? Yeah. So they were 12-0, Ohio State 11-1, and Alabama. All right, Ohio State's with 10.5 wins. Well, they've got a tough schedule. They, of course, have to face Texas. Non-conference, it's 2-1 or 3-0. Ohio State will be a slight favorite against Texas. Two new quarterbacks going at it. Julian Sayin most likely against Arch Manning. Two of the what appear to be 3 or 4 best teams in the country, we think. All right. They could trip up there. Going on the road against Washington. Going on the road against Illinois. How about your biggest upset of the season involving Ohio State? Maybe it's Ohio State going to Illinois. Going to Illinois and Wisconsin back-to-back weeks. Now, nobody's going to argue that Minnesota or Illinois or Wisconsin is in Ohio State's league, but playing them back-to-back, okay, before the bye, that's... Do they lose a second game there? Man, imagine if they're like 5-2. What would that be? 2-1, 2-2, 3. Yeah, 5-2. They've got Penn State coming in, and they're 5-2. They got to run the table to make the playoff. Penn State, and then they're fine for 3 weeks with Purdue, UCLA, and Rutgers. They are really fine for 3 weeks. That's got to be the easiest stretch drive of anybody leading into their rivalry game, not counting Michigan, leading into the rivalry game of anybody in the Big Ten. Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers. So if they are 5-2, they should get to 8-2 and be playing Michigan, or I'm sorry, they would be 9-2 and then going to Michigan to play for a playoff spot. That's what we need in this rivalry game between Ohio State and Michigan in this new era, as we need a playoff spot to be on the line. That was not the case last year. Ohio State was in the playoff, and Michigan was not in the playoff. Okay. Texas, Penn State, Michigan. And then this run here of, I'm telling you, it's going to be tricky. Minnesota. Well, really, tack on the Washington game. At Washington, Minnesota, at Illinois, at Wisconsin. If Ohio State goes 10-2, which that's their bottom floor. That's their floor. That take out the interim season of 2011. And that's Ohio State's floor since 2004. Let that sink in. Ohio State's floor, their worst record since 2004 is 10-2. But we are looking at a schedule that is presenting them with 3 obvious opportunities for a loss: Texas, Penn State, Michigan, and then that stretch of Washington, Minnesota, Illinois, and Wisconsin, with 3 of those games on the road. Yes, Tukey G, I excluded 2011. Not that we excluded. I'm just basically saying they didn't have a head coach. They did not have one of their head coaches. That's the only point that I'm making. Okay, we can throw 2011 back in. That's fine. I'm not saying the season doesn't count. I'm saying that they've had 3 head coaches during this 20-year span that I'm referencing. They've had 3 head coaches, and none of them were there. They had half their offense suspended and had an interim head coach. They had their quarterback suspended, their best running back, their best wide receiver, and their left tackle suspended. I'm not saying that we are not counting the season. I'm just putting it in perspective. That's crazy when you think about it. When you think about a 20-year run and the worst season is 10-2. This is going to be difficult for Ohio State to get to 10-2. But at the same time, can they win all those games? Of course they can win all those games. They're probably better than all those teams. But when you put them all together, the probabilities of winning over and over and over and over oh, let's be kind to our buddy Pitt Snipe Husker. I also have to make sure I read that correctly. I'm gloating just a bit. There are some facts, some statistics within Ohio State's football history that are tough not to gloat about. But just can you just kind of think about that for a second? 10-2, the worst season, 20 years. That's the worst season. There was a 10-2 in 2005, 2008, 2009, 2017, and 21. It's pretty crazy. Look at Troy. Troy's coming strong with 11-1 or 12-0. It's similar to the way I looked at the Ohio State playoff run. When I looked at the gauntlet that they would have to play, thinking, okay, and I am the guy, by the way, that did predict every playoff game right, 11-0. I'm gloating again, Minnie. I'm gloating again, 11-0, picking playoff games this year, that I was looking at, okay, they're going to play Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, and Notre Dame. That's who they're going to be playing in the playoff run. If I'm correct, that's crazy. That's a gauntlet. Can they win all those games? Well, yeah, they can. They're, I think, better than all those teams. But when you put them all together, the odds of them winning all those games to win the national championship was obviously against them. But they did it. Much like Troy is stating here, I think the probabilities, the odds are against them only losing one game or going undefeated. But sometimes when you're just that good, you just play through even a gauntlet like they're looking at right there. They're not playing Oregon or Iowa, but man, they've got to see Michigan, Penn State, Illinois, Texas. I think they go 10-2 against this schedule.